You got us? Beautiful. Okay, good evening. This is the Planning Commission meeting for December 14th, 2023, 7:31. We're here in Farmington Hills City Hall, the council chambers. We're at a meeting that's been duly advertised and notified. Call the meeting to order. Roll call. All members are present. Do we have an amendment to the agenda, or is the agenda good?
The agenda is good as written.
Motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Steve, motion by Steve, second by Marisa. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, first thing is item number 4, public hearing. This is rezoning request 210-2023, South Side 9 Mile Road, just west of Farmington Road. The proposal is rezone 3 parcels from B3 local business to RA4, one-family residential zoning district. Tonight, the Planning Commission is making a recommendation to City Council for Tessa Homes, LLC, Robert Donovic and Tom Devuka are applicants and owner. Staff, who we start with?
In this case, with a public hearing, we would generally start with the proponent.
Okay, if the proponent could come forward, kind of give an overview description, and then when you're done, we'll turn it back to the Planning Commission, see if they have some questions for you, and then we'll go over to staff for the review. Okay, does that sound good? If you could introduce yourself, name and address.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and honorable members of the commission. Robert Donovic on behalf of Fort Tessa Homes, 37637 5 Mile Road, Livonia, Michigan. Again, thanks for your time. I was here last month, and that meeting was considerably longer and a lot more people here. So it looks like you guys might be able to get home before 9 o'clock tonight. Just again, briefly, we're asking to rezone 3B1 local business parcels to 2 RA4 parcels. It's roughly 145 feet of frontage along 9 Mile Road. We'd like to create 2 home sites right there on the south side of 9 Mile, just east of Farmington Road. Behind our proposed project, there's RA4 homes, and to the west as well. To the east, there is 65 feet of trees that we do not own, and there is a medical center right there. The homes, again, will be roughly 1,900 square foot colonials, brick around the whole first floor, attached 2-car garages, basements, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, standard high-end quality homes. So we're asking to rezone these parcels so we can build a couple nice homes in your community. If there's any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much. Planning Commission, any questions for the proponent? Barry.
Did you fill out the application to have the parcels well, you have, I see the surveys here, but did you fill out the application to pay the fee to have the property changed to what you have in your survey? Because I think that's a requirement before we can approve.
Yes, and as the commission knows, we did speak about that a little bit last time, and through advice of the council and planning commission, I've acknowledged and told them that I will fill out that application whenever I'm directed to do so. The understanding that I was under is the rezoning would take place first, and then I would fill out the land split combination documentation within internal staff, but I'm available to fill out any application at any point, can have that submitted immediately.
Okay, I'm getting a nod from the city attorney that sounds like that's workable.
Yeah, I don't think the planning commission needs to condition its recommendation. It's part of the application, I'm sure. I mean, it may happen before it goes to council. It may happen between first and second reading, but there will be accommodation.
Okay, but we don't have to make a
You do not
condition
have
in
to.
that.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, good question, Barry. Thank you, Tom. Any other questions from the Planning Commission for the proponent? Seeing none, we'll turn it over to our consultant or to staff for a review.
The consultant review in this case.
Hey, Julia.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So as mentioned, the applicant's proposing to rezone from B1 to RA4. It's 2 currently vacant lots. They're surrounded by residential on one side and personal services on the other side. The applicant is looking to use the lot for single-family homes. Currently, the future land use map does not show the site as a residential use. However, the future land use map is really intended to show a generalized plan for future development, and it's not precise in terms of the exact boundaries, and given the adjacency to surrounding residential, that's a helpful consideration for the Planning Commission to discuss. If you look, starting on page 3 of the packet, there's the various considerations that the Planning Commission might want to discuss highlighted related to this rezoning request. And as mentioned, the one concern from the staff review was that both the lot width and the lot sizes are not currently consistent with the lot minimums and the minimum lot width for the RA4 zoning. However, should the applicant proceed with splitting boundary adjustment, then they should be able, and only have 2 lots instead of 3, then they should be able to meet all the requirements of RA4, and the property will be okay to be rezoned. And as advised by the city attorney, the applicant's going to proceed with that process administratively, so you guys can proceed here tonight.
Okay, Julia, is that it?
I believe so.
Okay, very, very good. Questions for staff? Okay, oh, Barry, before, is this a motion or no?
I'll just ask the question so we can have it on the record that the survey, there's 2 surveys, one what it exists and one what they're proposing, and the one that they're proposing fits within the RA4 zoning requirements. And this property, so if in fact this is approved, it would be according to the survey of, the certificate of survey would be what we're approving. Turning 3 lots into 2 lots and turning it from B1 to RA4.
Yes. So,
Yeah. So we have to go into the whole thing that this about spot zoning and this is not it.
well, I'd like to make pose a question or make a comment. If we make a recommendation to council to rezone it, regardless of what's submitted before us, we just have to have the benefit of a proposal before us. We're indicating we're okay with RA4. Correct?
But not as, we don't care about the survey, it's just that it's RA4.
So the action of the planning commission, when we're looking at, we happen to have a proposal for a couple houses on this property, but if it falls through, we're okay with rezoning it from business to residential. Correct? Everybody's on the same page?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, so the issue of the survey and the details of that, we're really just dealing whether it's going to be business, we're recommending business or residential. Tom? you
I
wanna-
guess yes or, sort of yes, Mr. Chair. I mean, whether you will be creating non-conforming lots would be something you might take into consideration, and whether or not it should be residential. So you might think it's good for residential, but not if they're going to keep these small non-conforming lots. You might then want to say, no, we don't recommend it. Or we only recommend it because you're telling us you're going to create 2 conforming lots.
So that's a good point. So when we make a recommendation, whoever makes the motion on this, should we somehow indicate if this doesn't go through, that the rationale for whatever our decision is that we're okay with this provided A, B, and C?
You can do that. I guess it's in the record what he plans to do. So, but, Mr. Chair, if you feel like that would make sense and be clearer, absolutely you can.
Okay, very good.
You got a question?
thank
You have
you.
a question?
Oh, yeah. Danielle, thank you, Steve. Then Steve, then Barry.
No, I'm just pointing.
Oh, okay.
I think this question is for you, but it could be for Giffords. I know that you want the vacant land and that's what you're dispensing, but you said there's RA4 behind you. What's going to be across from you or left to right?
So the present zoning behind us is RA4 residential. The zoning to the west of us is also RA4 zoning. And there will be 8 new homes. I'm not building those, but there are 8 new homes in that large parcel, 3 or 4 parcels down. So when we were considering what proposed zoning, we thought RA4 was most harmonious with the surrounding area. To the east of us is that B3, or B1 rather, zoning, but we don't own that. That's a medical center, what have you. When we were considering purchasing the property, the thought process, it was more compatible RA4 zoning as opposed to a commercial application. So that was our rationale in choosing RA4.
So to make sure I understand, B1 is the medical facility. B3 is your,
No, we are the B1,
your,
the
you're
3
this. Oh,
highlighted.
these 3. Yeah. Okay, see, I really hate
Theirs
that.
is the B
They're
one.
highlighted in blue on the screen
I
right now.
got you. And then to the left of your highlight,
Yes.
Okay, west of the property.
west of the property, are going to be new 8,
A little further down, there's, those are 8.
new houses
Yeah.
going into that area?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And then across the street is the car wash.
So our
Okay.
our proposed zoning request would be matching with the surrounding residential lot widths.
got it. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Barry, then Joe.
You have a question?
Just a follow-up. I thought Danielle's question was what's across the street, which is what's to the north, and I think it's a car wash.
To the north, there are 2 commercial businesses, a car wash and an oil change shop.
I know it's Farmington, but she asked a
they're
question.
not
I
within
just
the
wanted to
city
make sure it was
limits.
answered.
Right.
So
Oh,
when
so
we
when you
build
cross
the
the
2
street,
new
you're in the
houses,
city of
they'll be able to go across the street, get a car wash and be nice and clean.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
if there are no further questions, it is a public hearing.
Oh.
So, any further questions? I'll open the public hearing. If you have public comment on this proposal, if you're an individual, you have 3 minutes to present. If you're part of a group, association, you have 5 minutes. Please come forward if you'd like to make a comment. And your name and address, please. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Karen Kessler. I live in Farmington Hills, and specifically, I live next to the lot in question. I really like people, and I'd love to see it change to a residential zoning instead of a commercial zoning, if you're going to change it at all. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Appreciate your comment. Anyone else would like to comment on this project or this rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Back to the Planning Commission for discussion. Barry?
I move to recommend to City Council that rezoning request 2-10-2023 dated October 12th, 2023, submitted by Tessa Homes LLC, Robert Donovic, to rezone property located at parcel identification numbers 22-23-33-227-001, 002, and 003, Oakland County, Michigan, from B1 Local Business District to RA4, One Family Residential District, be approved, and that the use of the property be under the RA4 zoning requirements, which would conform to the certificate of survey that was attached to the Giffords-Webster
Sheet 4,
sheet 4?
because sheet 1's different.
Yeah, okay.
Sheet 2.
Sheet 2, yeah, no, it's the GLA LA Servers and Engineering's report. It's sheet 2 of 2, which shows 2 lots that would conform to a RA4 zoning.
Okay, Barry, thank you for your motion. John supported it. Okay, discussion on the motion.
Sheet 1.
Commissioners?
That's full of sheet.
No sidebars. Joe, anything? Are we good?
Yep.
Okay, good. So to restate, we're recommending the rezoning from B1 to RA4. And that there is a companion proposal going along with it. But if that companion proposal doesn't go through, we're still recommending rezoning of the property.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, Barry.
I might state the reason why I'm doing this is that the property behind it is RA4, the property next to it is RA4, and that this would be an extension of the RA4 districts that are already there, and RA4 is allowed next to a B1 district, which is on the other side.
Good. Excellent. That's in the record. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Your recommendation will go to City Council at the next available City Council meeting. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming and good luck.
I was just trying to.
Okay, 4B item is to amend PUD Plan Unit Development 1, 2020, including a revised site plan, 56-6-2020. Location is 28800 11 Mile Road. Proposal is demolition of a small chapel structure for open space in SP Special Purpose Zoning District. The action tonight, again, is a recommendation of the Planning Commission to City Council. Applicant is Edward Rose and Son, Mark Perkowski, Director of Acquisitions, owner, Farmington Hills Senior Living LLC. The owner would like to come up. Oh, he's here already. If you give your name and address. Good evening.
Mark Perkowski with Edward Rose and Sons, 38525 Woodward Avenue, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan.
Thanks for coming.
Sorry, I'm past a cold, but my voice hasn't quite come back yet, so I have a backup plan.
We'll all keep our distance.
Can you lift that mic up a
Yeah,
little bit?
Yeah, thank you,
Very
John.
Better? Very good, thank you. Thank you for tonight. As we briefly discussed the last time, this would be a small PUD amendment where we're proposing to take down a 5,000 square foot approximate former small chapel. It was one of 3 chapels on the property. We originally thought we would have a purpose for this to be tied to what's going to be a memory care building. But after looking at the internal mechanisms and the operations of the memory care, it really turned out to be a non-functional space for us. We also, before we made the decision to ask for it to be removed, we also thought about other uses that we could possibly use, but the building is isolated from parking. It has no toilet facilities, no plumbing, so it's a standalone building that would not have a whole lot of other use. So as a result, we're asking to allow us to demolish that building. As a result, we would be slightly increasing our or decreasing our lot coverage, be increasing our landscaping because we'll turn that space to an outdoor landscaped area. We would be no change to setbacks. There would be no change to building heights. So plus, plus, plus. And there's a bunch of all positives.
Good. Questions for Mark? Barry?
So what you're basically doing is giving more green space.
Correct, yes. 5,000 square feet of more green space, correct.
Nothing wrong with green space. Thank you.
Joe?
Are you, by any chance, going to plant greenery that's indigenous to the area?
Yeah. No,
He's an ex-planning commissioner, and that was one of his hot buttons, so I had to throw it out there.
Good question. And we did a landscape plan, but I don't remember exactly what we were proposing. I will make sure I can double check that.
I don't think it matters.
Okay, good.
It's only because we're trying to stretch this meeting to 8. We don't get paid unless we have at least a half hour.
No, you do get paid. You get paid nonetheless.
We got paid
Okay.
14 times for the last meeting.
Okay. Other questions for the proponent? So when we qualified this for PUD, was one of the qualifications open space or green space, or does staff recall when we qualified this?
I think we have the criteria in the Giffords report here.
I guess my only point is, if that's in case part of it, this is, you know, an advancement, an improvement on what was part of the PUD. And if not, green spaces, like Barry said, Joe said, it's a good thing. Any other questions?
Well, since it's not that many people here, and it's an opportunity for me to ask questions that may or may not be the brightest,
Please do.
I don't understand what, I see on this page that it's a demo of a small chapel. So that's what I've been operating under.
Correct.
But on this other page, it says that the proposed amendment is to permit retail and restaurant uses. But he just said it was for green space. So I'm
That was just a
confused.
typo that was carried over in the report.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Staff does that to make sure we're reading their reports.
Okay.
And they put those in there, and we caught it.
Yeah,
Very
it's
good.
a
Thank you.
test, you know.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
there you go.
Good catch.
All right. So I'm not lost. Then can I ask just a,
Yeah, absolutely.
so if on their land, so if I understand correctly, it's their land, and they have 3 buildings on there, and they just want to take down one, and they're not looking to build anything new or change the way it is used today, why is this a PUD discussion?
That's all right.
Well, it's the extent to which the chapel was mentioned in the PUD agreement, basically. It was integral to the PUD in that sense. It's mentioned throughout the agreement. You know, the site plan that's attached as an exhibit to the PUD agreement also would include the chapel. So essentially to undo what was kind of codified in that agreement is why this is a PUD amendment.
So when it was originally presented, that was shown, and now this is now proposed to be removed. When the PUD went through initially, qualified in the plan, the chapel was shown, and now they looked at it and said, no, I think we can remove it, we want to remove it. And I think a determination was made by the attorney's office that this would require an amendment to the PUD because it changes the plan.
So the PUD is a different kind of development, very discretionary on the part of the city, but it ends up, the approval is of a plan, but also a written contract. So it's very different from your typical site plan. If you want to change either of those things, you have to come back through the whole process, even though it's just a removal of a small building.
So the PUD is the PUD that existed at some point in time that might have
2020.
preceded.
It was approved in
preceded me.
2020, yes.
Yes.
Okay,
So
and
it's a-
so
it's a
he's
very
just
big
making a
development.
tweak to said
Correct.
PUD. Okay.
A small tweak that requires the
And
amendment.
some tweaks don't require going through this. This one did because it's taking a building that was shown on a plan and removing it.
Got
That's
it.
considered a big enough tweak.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Yes. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I'm good, thank you.
Good catch-up question. You got a question?
Trying to relay.
I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on that answer.
Please do, yes.
So, there is a demolition going on, and there will be construction. So on C-1.1, which should be the third sheet you have, you can see the small chapel way over on the left. That's not all that important. What I want you to do is compare C-1-1 to C2. So if you lift it up, and C2 is also being shown on your computer screen right now. You can easily see over on the left side that there's a detention pond, all right, on C2. On C-1.1, that's the existing condition, okay? And then C-2 is what they're proposing to build. And the change they're making is what they were proposing to build was going to preserve that small chapel. And they're taking it out, and we had decided that that was a major change, so we had to have this public meeting.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, any other questions from the commission? Seeing none, we'll now go to staff. What do you have for us?
Oh, I guess the only thing else that I wanted to add is that at the last meeting, we reviewed whether it was a major or minor amendment. And then the other thing that we did is we looked at the PUD qualifying criteria, and we looked at the things that may have been changed as a part of the chapel coming down. And that was whether or not it was a historic building. And then also the initial PUD narrative talked about the conservation easement and the existing structures creating unusual parcel shapes and coordination challenges. And that was part of what predicated it. And so the discussion that took place at the last meeting, I think the applicant kind of clarified that the building didn't really have any historic contributions to the site. So I just wanted to kind of go back on the considerations for that.
Yeah, certainly, thank you. And that's a good point. And if it had historical consequences that the Historic District Commission looked at and certified or whatever, they would probably say, hey, well, let's keep that. but we looked at it and said, yeah, it makes sense. It's not historical in that regard. Is there any other comments from staff on the proposed change? Okay, seeing none, let's have the public hearing. Please come forward if you'd like to comment on this amendment to the PUD. Okay. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Back to the commission.
Barry,
You need,
want to make a motion?
I'm going to make a motion, but did you need something?
No,
John?
I'm good.
Okay.
Are you good, yeah? Okay.
All right, I'd like to make a motion. I move to recommend to City Council that the application to amend Plan Unit Development 1, 2020, including the revised site plan 56-6-2020, dated October 17th, 2023, submitted by Edward Rose and Sons, Mark Krakowski, Director of Acquisitions, be approved because the plans are consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the master plan and applicable provisions of the planned unit development option in section 34-3, period 20 of the zoning ordinance.
Good. We got a support. Steve, support. Marisa moves. Steve, support. Discussion on the motion to approve this amendment to the PUD.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
I heard.
I think it's a
And
win-win.
it's hard to argue with that.
Well, agreed. You can't argue with the win-win. Win-wins are good. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. It's been approved and recommended on now to City Council. It'll be available there at some future date when council sets their agenda. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay. Okay, next item of business for us is our November 16, 2023 minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the fabulous minutes put together by Cheryl?
You actually read it.
You have it, Joe?
No, I have. I was going to make a motion.
Okay.
Although it breaks my heart to approve minutes that were not done with Cheryl personally in the room, I'm still moving that we approve the minutes for November 16th, 2023, and what, also the minutes for October 26th? Both of those up there for approval?
Did I have two? Do we have two?
Yes.
No, there should only be one set of
But
minutes
just
as printed on the agenda. We had already approved the October minutes
Oh,
in
okay.
November.
I thought so. I just, they
Yep.
were there. Yes.
Yeah, I think those were erroneously thrown into your packet for some reason, but yeah. I
Again, it
apologize
breaks
for that.
my heart. It
we always
breaks
need
my
one to
heart,
read.
but I'm doing it.
One set of minutes, November 16th. Cheryl not being here, and it's a testament of what a great job she does. And she's not here, and those minutes are
We
fabulous.
cannot acknowledge that she did a good job, even though she wasn't here. We cannot do that.
She was hiding.
She was here, and
She was here in
technical
spirit. We were here.
technology support by Krista. Moved by Joe, support by Krista, to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
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 Nays? Ayes have it, minutes approved. Public comment? Seeing no public, we'll move on to commissioner staff comments.
I have a comment. Oh, I'm sorry, Barry.
Danielle?
Started at our end.
I thought today's study session was helpful, and I hope that we have another one in the beginning of the year, because just being able to understand the norms and, you know, what we are able to do in the space is, I think will go a long way in us new people getting up to speed.
Absolutely, and very good for team building as well.
Yes.
While we
Yes.
work together, so, yeah, thank you, Jill, staff, Eric, Julia, Chris.
Good. We're
Nice
glad
job,
you
Tom.
enjoyed
Thank
it,
you.
and we'll look forward to our next training workshop with you. It's actually one of, like, my personal favorite things to do, so I'm definitely happy to come back
Whip
again.
us into shape.
And look, we only had a 30-minute
You
meeting.
want to go down? Joe, you have
I mean,
something?
it's not over.
Yes,
but-
I wanted to thank the city for clearing away all that brush right in front of the bicycle parking outside the front door. The brush was so thick for so many years that you couldn't use them, and now they look as beautiful as when they were first built, as designed by students at OCC for this building.
Awesome.
Good point.
Yeah, I think we removed some invasive species too in that endeavor, so it's a net benefit for everybody.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Barry.
Since this is the last meeting of this year, I wish everybody happy holidays. For people that are Jewish, it's the last day of Hanukkah. Don't set your house on fire, and for people that are not, Merry Christmas. And those containers are still over on Drake Road.
Okay, so I know we're probably working on that. Angie,
Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and Happy Kwanzaa.
thank you to you and your family. Thank you. John?
No, I got nothing.
John, you good? Lisa?
In relation to kind of the master plan and some of the conversations we've been having, I think there's some interesting legislation going up federally in front of the House and Senate in terms of hedge funds and private equity firms owning single-family houses. And so they're really trying to push legislation that not be allowed, and that if that passes over the next 10 years, a lot of those investment firms will have to relinquish that housing stock. So I don't know that has a huge impact on us in Farmington Hills necessarily, but when we talk about what's available to people, and it seems like that from some of the articles I read, that the percentage of ownership of that is rising. So it'll combat that and hopefully release housing back to people who are trying to obtain it. So I found that interesting and wanted to share. Keep an eye out, and happy holidays.
Very good, thank you. Danielle?
I see my piece. Thank you.
Very good. Steve?
What's our January meeting schedule?
I believe we're on for
We
the,
have to do the SIP, right?
yeah, we'll be on regular for the 18th, and then the CIP would be exactly the following Thursday at 7:30.
What about the study session we talked about?
6 o'clock?
There's nothing to see. Yeah.
The 18th, I think, is a little bit up in the air as to what we're going to do before the regular meeting. We do have a request for a study session from the Chaldean Community Foundation. So there's a few moving parts out there right now of how we're going to prioritize that time, but there's a few things competing for that time slot right now that we're trying to kind of resolve here, so.
The Chaldean Foundation is asking to have a study session.
They are asking for a study session in January. They're coming back with a revised proposal. And their hope is to gain some feedback on that proposal before they move forward.
We used to.
I missed that.
Third meeting? 11?
I don't know that we're going to be able to get a third meeting in the month.
For a study session, though, we could do that. Maybe, just a thought.
Well, there are a lot of moving parts out here right now. We're also trying to get a master plan moved along here.
Can you guys send us like proposed dates so we can comment on them?
Well, I'd be a little bit remiss to make any commitments right now because a little bit of
No, I
this.
didn't say make commitments.
Yeah.
Just some dates and get some feedback where, who's
Certainly.
available when.
Certainly.
That'd be
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, we're trying to sort this
Before you
out.
said
So.
it.
I find it hard we don't know everything that you know, not that it's a big secret or anything, but I mean, it would help to know, like, the Chaldeans are coming, we need a study session, we have CIP, we have other stuff, and, you know, the dance card's getting full.
There are a lot of things competing for those time slots, and internally, we have to kind of work that out a bit before we can commit, so.
Does it all have to come in January?
I was just going to say, what's wrong with February?
Well, you know, when it's coming from the applicant side, it's always an emergency, right? You know, as far as what we're doing here internally and how we prioritize that, that's a different thing, but, you know, in terms of business that's coming in from the public, it's always urgent, and they'll call the mayor, they'll call the city manager, it's urgent. You know, it's how it tends to be. So, you know, that's kind of the context that we're working within, and we're trying our best to accommodate all the competing interests here.
CIP has to be in January.
It does. Yeah, and we're going to hold that date for certain for the CIP. Good. Yes.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Kristen?
No comment.
Okay. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Duke Orr, former Planning Commission members in the audience tonight. Duke, do you have anything to say or any advice for the Planning Commission? There was a public comment section here, and I thought you were here for that. You didn't get up, but so I didn't want to leave tonight without your.
Thank you very much for offering me this opportunity. I appreciate it. First off, I worked for Ed Rose many years ago. I think I divulged that when this originally came up, and I was on the commission when it came up. And I wanted to say hello to the people that I used to work with, and that's why I came tonight. I'd never worked with these people, but people that I knew are still there. Secondly, the other project you had.
You wanted to see us too, right?
Well, I'm here seeing you now. I only had a couple of minutes with them, but.
Two birds with one stone.
Minutes with us, too.
The other project you had was also of interest to me because I think if you'll remember when I was on the commission, I was always deriding the idea that we were splitting property for tax purposes. And I thought if you were combining these properties, I thought that was a really good thing to do, as well as changing the zoning in this particular area. I think this property came up when I was early on, maybe. Don't you remember it coming up before?
I'm old.
Yes, I know, but you were here too.
Usually Joe remembers everything.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
I don't specifically remember it, but it was, if it happened, it
Good
was a long
seeing you.
time ago.
Thanks for coming up. Happy holidays
Good
to
to
you and your
see you.
Merry
family.
Christmas to all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A motion to adjourn.
Angie made the motion, second by John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, ayes have it. End of the meeting.